All right, deep diver. You sent over a fantastic stack of articles and notes
Yeah.
on something I think many of us feel, daily, maybe feeling a bit low or finding it hard to focus or just um, chasing a decent night's sleep.
Yeah.
And as we looked through your sources, it really jumped out that there's this powerful chemical, often overlooked, behind a lot of it, serotonin.
That's exactly right. Serotonin is, well, it's a vital neurotransmitter. People sometimes call it the feel-good chemical. And it's really deeply connected with our sense of happiness, our emotional stability, appetite, even things like memory.
Right.
And when those levels are off balance, you can genuinely feel that impact.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to sort of unpack the science of serotonin, figure out what it really does, and maybe more importantly, pull out those surprising, actionable, natural strategies from your material, things you can use like right away to give your levels a real boost. Because, while medications are out there and they definitely have their place, your sources really stress how much influence you have just through simple daily habits.
Exactly. We're going to explore both the kind of fascinating science bits and the practical steps. The idea is to empower you, the listener, to support your body's own systems for feeling, well, your absolute best.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Okay. Let's start with the fundamentals then from your sources. Serotonin, or the technical name 5-hydroxytryptamine. It's basically a chemical messenger, right?
Yeah.
But going beyond just mood,
Yeah.
what's its core job in the body, according to the research?
It's really a master regulator. Serotonin plays such a vital role in balancing your mood, managing how you respond to stress, and it even influences things you might not immediately connect, like digestion, your sleep cycles, and just your overall emotional resilience. Think of it like a foundational piece for keeping things calm inside.
So for someone listening, what does that actually feel like when, your serotonin system is working well, it's humming along, and what are those maybe subtle, maybe not so subtle signs when it's a bit off?
Well, when your serotonin is balanced, you generally feel calmer, more focused, more emotionally stable. You find you can kind of ride out life's little bumps a bit better.
Makes sense.
But when levels dip low, your sources point to pretty common things. Irritability, maybe a persistent sadness, anxiety, or sometimes just this kind of pervasive sense of emptiness.
Right.
Understanding that balance and knowing how you can support it is just so central to mental wellness.
Now, this is the bit that honestly surprised me when I was going through your notes. My gut instinct, no pun intended, was that serotonin is all about the brain. But the research says something quite different, doesn't it? Where is most of this stuff actually made?
Yeah, that's a really common misconception, and it's genuinely fascinating. The big surprise is that roughly 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in your gut.
Wow.
90%. Only the remaining 10% or so is made in the brain. And this fact, which your material really highlights, it just underscores this profound link often missed between your gut health and your mental well-being. It's not just a gut feeling, it's actual gut chemistry.
Okay, so if it's mostly made in the gut, how does the body actually build it?
Yeah.
What are the ingredients, the raw materials, and the sort of step-by-step process your sources laid out?
Right, so it all kicks off with tryptophan. That's an essential amino acid, meaning we absolutely have to get it from our diet. Our bodies can't make it.
Got it. Essential.
Once you absorb tryptophan, it gets converted into something called 5-HTP, and then that gets turned into serotonin. Now, this whole conversion process, it heavily relies on help from other key nutrients. Things like vitamin B6, magnesium, and iron are crucial.
Okay.
And once it's made, serotonin is then used either by the brain for mood stuff or by the gut to help with digestion. It's quite a delicate multi-step operation.
It sounds like a pretty elegant system, actually.
Yeah.
But what can kind of throw a wrench in the works? What are the biggest things that disrupt this production line, according to the research you looked at?
Yeah, lots of things can influence it, unfortunately. Your genetics definitely play a part. Some people are just naturally a bit more or less efficient at making it. Your diet, obviously, and specifically how well you absorb those key nutrients we just mentioned, that's huge. Chronic stress is a big one. It can actually deplete the precursors for serotonin, basically stealing the resources needed to make it.
Stress. Always comes back to stress, doesn't it?
It often does. Also, how much exercise you get, your exposure to sunlight, we'll talk more about that. And thinking back to the gut thing, the health of your gut microbiome, all very powerful influencers.
This background, this foundation from your sources is super valuable. But now for the really good news part. How can you, listening right now, actively support your serotonin system using these insights? Let's start with something maybe incredibly simple, but sounds like it's really powerful. Light.
Yeah, this is a great one. It's like a daily biohack that's so easy to overlook. Getting just, say, 15 to 30 minutes of natural morning light. It's not just about waking you up. It literally signals your body through the retina in your eyes to start producing more serotonin.
Wow. Just from light.
Just from light. Think of it as flicking a natural antidepressant switch, often right in your backyard or on your balcony. And if getting natural sunlight is tricky, maybe in darker winter months or depending on where you live, a light therapy box can be a really good substitute to send that same signal.
A natural antidepressant switch. I like that framing. Okay, what about moving our bodies? Does exercise play a direct chemical role here beyond just getting physically fit?
Oh, absolutely. We often think about exercise for muscles or heart health, but every jog, every bike ride, every time you dance around your living room, it's also a direct investment in your mood.
How so?
Well, exercise doesn't just burn calories. It seems to physically clear the path for tryptophan, that raw material we talked about, to get into your brain more easily where it can then become serotonin.
Ah. So it's not just sweat. It's a literal chemical boost for your brain.
Yeah.
And you don't need to go run a marathon either. A brisk walk, cycling, dancing, a light jog that works, aiming for maybe 20 to 30 minutes most days of the week is a great goal.
So it's not just about the endorphin rush people talk about. There's this direct chemical pathway for serotonin building blocks.
Exactly.
Does that mean even like a short brisk walk is having a real impact? Or do you need a certain intensity?
Even moderate intensity, like that brisk walk, seems highly effective based on the studies. The real key seems to be consistency, just getting that blood flowing and neurotransmitter activity going regularly. You're kind of building and maintaining that chemical pathway with every bit of movement.
Right, consistency.
Okay.
Beyond light and movement, what we put into our bodies,
Yeah.
obviously key. Can specific foods, as your sources mentioned, actually help fuel serotonin production? Yes, definitely. You can directly support the synthesis process by focusing on foods rich in tryptophan. Now, the trick here, and this is important according to the research, is pairing those tryptophan-rich foods with some healthy carbohydrates.
Why the carbs?
Because the carbs seem to help shuttle the tryptophan across the blood-brain barrier, making it more available for serotonin production in the brain.
Ah, clever. So what are some of those top foods?
Well, some of the ones that kept popping up in your materials were things like eggs, salmon, turkey. Tofu is a good source, nuts and seeds, bananas, oats. Quite a good list to choose from.
Yeah, accessible stuff.
Yeah.
And what about calming the mind? Things like mindfulness or meditation, can practices like that actually impact this chemical messenger directly?
They absolutely can. Your sources really highlighted how these practices work to calm your body's stress responses. When you lower stress, you improve emotional regulation, and that seems to directly increase serotonin activity or efficiency in the brain. Even starting small can be really beneficial. Just 5 or 10 minutes a day, maybe some deep breathing exercises, writing down things you're grateful for, or doing a simple body scan meditation. The idea is to consistently calm the nervous system, which seems to create a better environment for serotonin to do its job.
Okay, so we've covered some great daily habits: light, movement, food, calming the mind. Let's shift a bit now to the longer-term foundations for keeping serotonin healthy, things your research really emphasized. And maybe top of that list is something so many of us, myself included, tend to skimp on: sleep.
Oh, sleep is absolutely critical. Consistently poor sleep quality or just not getting enough hours can really disrupt both how much serotonin you produce and how sensitive your brain is to it.
How does that work?
Well, during sleep, your brain is incredibly active. It's working hard to balance out all sorts of neurotransmitters, including serotonin, and basically reset your whole emotional regulation system for the next day. It's not just rest. It's essential chemical rebalancing.
So not enough sleep means
Right.
less balancing.
Pretty much. Or less effective balancing. Consistent, quality sleep is just immensely important for having a stable mood day to day.
So what are some practical tips your sources gave for actually getting better sleep? We all know we should.
Right. Knowing isn't always doing. The basics, though basic, make a huge difference, and consistency really is king here. Keeping a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, as much as possible, that's foundational.
Hard, but important.
Very. Also, avoiding screens, phones, tablets, computers late at night, that blue light really can mess with your body's natural sleep hormone production. And creating some kind of calming nighttime routine signals to your brain it's time to wind down. Maybe a warm bath, reading a physical book, whatever works for you.
Makes sense. And finally, something your sources called the connection cure. How does building strong social bonds, connecting with people, impact our serotonin?
Yeah, this is such a vital piece of overall well-being. Positive social contact, things like giving or receiving a hug, having a meaningful conversation with someone you care about, even just spending quality time with a pet that can increase both serotonin and oxytocin.
Ah, the love hormone.
Exactly. Another feel-good hormone linked to bonding and trust. Connection truly is like medicine for the brain. So make it a point to schedule regular meetups, even virtual ones, send a crane text, or just consciously spend time connecting with loved ones, including furry ones.
Yeah.
The research is pretty clear. Healthy relationships really do help build healthy brains and support these crucial neurotransmitters.
Okay, so we have these powerful lifestyle pillars: light, movement, food, calm, sleep, connection. Beyond those, are there any natural brain support options, maybe targeted supplements that your sources pointed to, perhaps to fill in nutritional gaps or give an extra edge?
Yes, there are definitely certain nutrients and some botanicals that the research suggests can potentially enhance serotonin production or to support overall brain health. Your material explored a few.
Like what?
Well, for example, citicoline was mentioned. It seems to support focus and general brain energy. Saffron came up too. It's been linked in some clinical studies to improved mood, offering a natural option people might explore.
Interesting.
B vitamins are absolutely crucial. They're direct helpers, cofactors in the process of making neurotransmitters, including serotonin. And looping back to our earlier conversation about the gut-brain axis, probiotics.
Right, for the gut.
Exactly. Promoting good gut health is so valuable because, as we now know, that's where the vast majority, that 90% of your serotonin actually gets made, supporting the factory, essentially.
That's a really helpful list for people to consider, and this feels really important. What's the big disclaimer, the most crucial advice you'd give our listeners about thinking about supplements based on your review of the sources?
Yeah, this is non-negotiable, really. It is absolutely vital to always talk with a healthcare provider, your doctor, a qualified practitioner, before starting any new supplement or making really significant changes to your health routine.
Oh, it's so crucial.
Because your brain, your body, your biochemistry, it's unique. You deserve a plan that's personalized to you, considering your individual needs, any existing health conditions you have, and importantly, any other medications or supplements you might already be taking. These compounds can be powerful and interactions are possible.
Right.
Professional guidance ensures you're doing what's actually right and safe for your specific situation. Your brain deserves that personalized approach.
Absolutely. So to kind of bring this whole deep dive together then, serotonin is clearly essential for mental wellness, for feeling good and stable. And your sources make it incredibly clear that you, the listener, have this remarkable natural ability to influence it. Those daily habits, actively getting sunlight, consistently moving your body, really prioritizing quality sleep, choosing those supportive foods, they make a profound, genuinely measurable difference.
They really do. And while targeted supplementation might help fill certain gaps for some people under guidance,
Right.
it's those consistent day in, day out lifestyle choices that truly build lasting results and create a more stable, happier foundation for you.
And that brings us, I think, to a final provocative thought for you to maybe chew on, based on everything we've discussed.
Yeah, building on that gut connection especially, given that remarkable fact that 90% of our serotonin is actually made in the gut, what single, small, consistent choice could you make this week, starting today maybe, to specifically nourish your gut health and, by extension, potentially give your mood a little boost?